Senior High School On-Air Academy. Unstoppable! Delivering you quality education amidst pandemic.
To defer school opening to October 5.
Unstoppable!
Giving you accessible learning platform anytime, anywhere.
Ang klase, whatever form it is.
Comprehensible!
Start it out and get yourself ready.
I will repeat, then you will do it later on.
Accurate!
The sphere that includes all living things.
Today, we will be talking about rational functions.
Simplified.
This is Jaws speaking. How may I help you?
This is ZF School Radio's Senior High School On-Air Academy. And now, here's your new episode for
Biology Foundations.
Your guide in the subject, General Biology 1.
Biology Foundations.
Biology Foundations.
Welcome grade 11 STEM students on another wonderful learning day. I hope you're doing good. Allow me again to nourish your minds and develop your critical thinking skills as we go through amazing topics in biology, which you will find very useful when you are going to take medical courses in college. I am your radio teacher for today, Sir Brian Dumaging Tagaka. Let me give you a few reminders before we begin. Make sure that you focus on listening on today's discussion and refrain from doing unnecessary things that may distract your learning. Prepare your pens and notebooks or paper as you need to take down some important points for better understanding about the topic. If you have the printed learning activity sheets, you may use it as reference. You should always be aware for the instruction for the activities and the quiz, which you will give after the lesson. You may have your snack with us. You can eat while you're listening. Are you now ready? Of course you are. So let's begin. Before proceeding to our lesson proper, it is very important for you to review some key concepts from the previous lessons. In the fourth episode, you tackled about the different transport mechanisms that the cell does regularly. In the fifth episode, you have also learned about the different biological molecules, especially in enzymes. What are enzymes again? Very good! Enzymes are protein molecules that speeds up the rate of the chemical reaction in a living organism. It acts as a catalyst for a specific chemical reaction like oxidation-reduction reaction. You have also learned this type of reaction, right? How about you describe oxidation-reduction reaction? Awesome! Oxidation-reduction reaction or redox is a chemical reaction that involves a transfer of electrons between two reactants, and wherein there is a loss and a gain of electrons. Enzymes plays a vital role in the type of chemical reaction, but its activity is affected by some factors. What are the factors that affects enzymes activity? You got it right. The pH, temperature, and the nature of substrate are the factors that affects the enzyme's activity. Before I introduce our topic for this episode, let's evaluate first if you have learned something from the previous lesson by checking your answer on the quiz. Are you now ready? Yes! Just a reminder, my dear students, please be honest in checking your own quiz for you to know what area should you have to improve. Remember, we learn from our mistakes, and as the Department of Education says, honesty is the best policy. Ready? Let me hear a yell if you are ready.
Hooray!
Well, I'm sure you are now ready. For the item number 1 of the first part, the answer is enzymes. Did you get it right? If yes, it's good, but if it's not, it's okay. For item number 2, the correct answer is simple enzymes. Moving on, for item number 3, the answer is optimum temperature. In the second part, the answer are the following. The oxidation number of carbon has increased from 2 to 4. Therefore, the reactant that contains carbon, which is carbon dioxide, is the substance that had been oxidized and that is the reducing agent. On the other hand, the oxidation number of Fe or iron has decreased from 2 to 0. Therefore, the reactant that contains Fe, which is FeO, is the substance that has been reduced and that is the oxidizing agent. Wow! Okay, were you able to get all the correct answers? Who got a perfect score? Well, whatever is your score, whether perfect or not, I want to say congratulations! For I know that you did your best. And though your best is not good enough, you did it with dignity and honor. That is already a big accomplishment. So, let's move on. Just feel relaxed and comfortable there as we are going to start our lesson after this short break.
Ayun na, ayun na, ayun na, sa Radyo Eskwela. Ayun na, ayun na, ayun na, sa Radyo Eskwela.
Tayo na!
Mari, ba't may gamit kayong radyo ngayon? Luma na yan ah.
Mare, ang radyo ay kailanman hindi na paglilipasan ng panahon. Lalo ngayon, isa ang radio-based instructions na napiling gamitin ng DepEd para maituloy ang pag-aaral ng mga bata sa kabila ng pandemiko.
Wow, ang galing naman. Sige Mare, uwi na ako para makabili ng radyo para sa inaanak mo.
Tara na't matuto sa kabila ng pandemiko. Isang paalala mula sa DepEd at ng himpilang ito. Sulong Edukalidad!
I'm back! Learning about the cell in the previous lesson could make us thought that the cell is a small, bustling town, a busy town. Why? This is because the cell performs several activities like cell division, protein synthesis, transport of substances. What else? Muscle cell contraction, transmission of nerve impulses, and another metabolic processes. With these numerous activities that the cell do, what do you think gives the cell the power to do so? How it could possibly happen? Is it magic? Well, my dear students, our topic for this episode will answer those questions. So, you better get your pens and paper and take down important notes as we discuss our topic entitled ATP-ADP cycle. In this topic, you will learn about the coupling reaction processes and the role of ATP in the energy coupling and transfer. Does it sound interesting or boring? Don't you worry, my dear students, for I will just be discussing this in a simple way. The cell needs energy in order to carry out cellular processes. The energy that came from the food we eat are being stored in the cell in the form of the small molecule called ATP and released spontaneously as needed. ATP stands for adenosine triphosphate. Again, ATP stands for adenosine triphosphate. It is your first time to hear this term? I hope it's not. But if it yes, it would be fine because I'll let you know about it as we go through our lesson in this episode. So, do you still have the energy? First of all, let me introduce to you the main character of the topic, the ATP, or what's that stands for again? Okay, very good. Adenosine triphosphate. This is a small, relatively simple molecule. It is a main energy currency of the cell, just like money in the main economic currency of human societies. Did you get it, my dear students? Yes! Let's visualize the structure of ATP, or better draw it if you can on your notes. ATP has 3 parts, the nitrogenous base adenine and 5 carbon sugar called ribose, and the 3 phosphate groups alpha, beta, and gamma. The bond in between these phosphate groups are called phosphoanhydride bonds or high energy bonds. I repeat, phosphoanhydride bonds. A phosphoanhydride bond is very unstable. When broken, it releases energy sufficient to power variety of cellular reaction and processes. Para lang din itong mag-boyfriend at mag-girlfriend na kapag nasira ang bond na nag-uugnay sa kanilang dalawa, ay maglalabas ng extra energy ang isa para maggalit o umiyak. At pagkatapos noon, ay mababawasan na siya ng energy at manghihina. Oh, sino nakarelate dyan? Going back to our topic, how could this bond be broken? Absolutely correct. The bond is broken through the hydrolysis reaction. Hydrolysis is the broken reaction mediated by water. When ATP is hydrolyzed, the bond between the beta and gamma phosphate group is broken, thus transforming the ATP into ADP or adenosine diphosphate and a free inorganic phosphate group. This reaction is accompanied by the release of free energy that will be utilized by the cell to carry out its activities. This is known as exergonic reaction of ATP hydrolysis. I repeat, it is called exergonic reaction. Moving on, like most chemical reactions, the hydrolysis of ATP to ADP is reversible. Reversible meaning, pwedeng bumalik. The reverse reaction that regenerates ATP from ADP also requires energy. Therefore, it's an endergonic reaction. Again, it is called endergonic reaction. But where does the energy needed in regeneration of ATP came from? It will be coming from the energy produced during the cellular respiration, which will be discussed in the succeeding episodes. In simple analogy, ATP and ADP is like a charged and uncharged forms of a rechargeable battery. ATP, the charged battery, has energy that can be used to power cellular reactions. Once the energy has been used, the uncharged battery, which is ADP, must be recharged before it can again be used as a power source. Got it? Regeneration of ATP is important because cells tend to use up or hydrolyze ATP molecules very quickly and rely on replacement ATP being constantly produced. The ATP regeneration reaction is just a reverse of hydrolysis reaction. Therefore, the ADP will be transformed back to ADP by bonding to another free inorganic phosphate ion released from cellular respiration. The process is known as phosphorylation. In the cycle of hydrolysis and phosphorylation of generating ATP and ADP, or known as ATP-ADP cycle, goes on, in order for our cells to function continuously and normally. To represent as chemical reaction, ATP plus water will form ADP plus inorganic phosphate plus free energy. Can you still follow? What do you think will happen if the cycle stops? Definitely, we will get tired and experience fatigue because there's no energy to power the cells. That's why we have to eat in order to live. Did you understand, my dear students? I hope so. Well, going to pause for a while and be back after this.
Tayo ay mag-aral sa loob ng ating tahanan. Sa radyo ay mag-tune lang, tiyak ika'y may matututunan. Pagkat sa gitna ng pandemya, tayo pa rin ay magkaisa upang masigurong bawat bata ay pumapasa.
Let's continue. To harness the energy within the bonds of ATP, cells use a strategy called energy coupling. Cells couple the exergonic reaction of ATP hydrolysis with the endergonic reactions of cellular processes. For example, transmembrane ions pumped in the nerve cells use the energy from ATP to pump ions across the cell membrane and generate action potential. The sodium-potassium pump drives sodium out of the cell and potassium into the cell. When ATP is hydrolyzed, it transfers its gamma phosphate to the pump protein. It is a process called phosphorylation. The sodium-potassium pumps gain the free energy and undergoes a conformational change, allowing it to release 3 sodium ions to the outside of the cell. 2 extracellular potassium ions bind in the protein, causing the protein to change shape again and discharge the phosphate. By donating free energy to the sodium-potassium Na+/K+ pump, phosphorylation drives the endergonic reaction. In short, the ATP molecule supplies the power for the cell to transport substances against the concentration gradient. What type of transport is it again? Very good, the active transport. This is the reason why you cannot think thoroughly if you are hungry. Are you now hungry? Well, you can eat while listening so that your brain will function well, especially when you take the quiz later. ATP also plays a vital role in cellular metabolism. During cellular metabolic reaction or the synthesis and broken of nutrients, certain molecules must be altered slightly in their conformational to become substrate for the next step in the reaction series. In the very first step of cellular respiration, glucose is broken down through the process of glycosylasis. ATP is required for a phosphorylation of glucose, creating high-energy but unstable intermediate. This phosphorylation reaction causes a conformational change that allows enzyme to convert the phosphorylized glucose molecule to the phosphorylized sugar fructose. Fructose is necessary intermediate for glycolysis to move forward. In this example, the exergonic reaction of ATP hydrolysis is coupled with the endergonic reaction of converting glucose for use in the metabolic pathway. So, this is how important the ATP is. Are you still with me, my dear students? I know this is quite complicated, but don't worry. You will understand further the role of ATP when you tackle the topic of cellular respiration in the succeeding episode. Time for recap? Let's summarize what is transcribed today. What is ATP stands for? You're right. ATP stands for adenosine triphosphate. What about ADP? Very good. ADP stands for adenosine diphosphate. Now, can you describe the structure of ATP molecule? Magnificent. ATP has three parts: the nitrogenous base adenine, the 5-carbon sugar called ribose, and the 3 phosphate groups named as alpha, beta, and gamma. The bond in between the phosphate groups are called phosphoanhydride bond or high energy bond. What's the difference between ATP and ADP? Awesome! ATP is the molecule that possesses the full energy and capable to give extra energy, while ADP has less energy and needs to extra energy. This process is known as ATP-ADP cycle. What reactions are involved in this process? How is this happen? The process involves are hydrolysis and phosphorylation. What is hydrolysis? Hydrolysis is a reaction mediated by water that breaks the phosphoanhydride bonds between the gamma phosphate group and release extra energy. What about phosphorylation? Phosphorylation is the process of addition of phosphate group into another phosphate group by forming a bond with the help of enzymes. This cycle goes on and on to sustain the required energy needed by the cell. What is energy coupling? What is the role of ATP in energy coupling and transfer? Exactly. Energy coupling is a simultaneous reaction of exergonic reaction on ATP hydrolysis with the endergonic reaction of cellular process wherein there is a release and gain of energy. With this, ATP is indispensable in cellular active transport and cellular metabolism. So, that wraps the whole lesson for this episode. I hope you learned a lot about the ATP-ADP cycle, and I guess you are ready for a short quiz. But before that, let's pause for a short break for you to organize all your thoughts and the concepts you have learned.
Wow! Adobong manok! Ang sarap naman ng ulam namin! Ang bango pa! Kainan na!
Hep hep hep! Buknoy, may nakalimutan ka ata.
Ha? Wala kuya! Gutom na po ako kaya kumain na po tayo!
Buknoy, nakalimutan mong maghugas ng kamay. Lagi mong tatandaan, bago kumain, ugaliin nating maghugas ng kamay. Ang wastong paghuhugas ng kamay ay isang epektibong paraan upang matanggal ang bakterya at germs na lumikit sa ating mga kamay. Ito ay makatutulong upang maiwasan natin ang pagkalat ng sakit sa ating paligid.
Sige po kuya, uugaliin ko na po ang wastong paghuhugas ng aking kamay bago kumain. Kainan na!
Ang kalusugan ay kayamanan. Isang paalala mula sa kagawaran ng edukasyon at ng himpilang ito.
And we are back. It's time to assess your learning. Are you now ready? Don't worry, this will be very easy for you to answer if you listen very well. The quiz is composed of 5 questions. So, prepare your quiz notebook and write in there quiz in episode 6 and the date today. identify what is being asked in the statement. I will state the question twice and you will be given 5 seconds to write down the answers. Okay, shall we start? First question. The ATP molecule is composed of 3 parts, the adenine, the ribose, and the phosphate group. What part possesses the high energy bond? I repeat, the ATP molecule is composed of 3 parts, the adenine, the ribose, and the phosphate groups. What part possesses the high energy bond? For question number 2, the ATP is considered as a full battery, but it can be easily hydrolyzed in order to release extra energy. This is now be transformed into a molecule with less energy known as blank. Note, please write the complete name. Again, the question number 2, the ATP is considered as a full battery, but it can be easily hydrolyzed in order to release extra energy. This will now be transformed into a molecule with less energy known as blank. Let's move to the question number 3. The ATP-ADP cycle involves chemical reaction mediated by water. What do you call this type of reaction? I repeat, the question number 3. The ATP-ADP cycle involves chemical reaction mediated by water. What do you call this type of reaction? Next, number 4. Energy coupling is the simultaneous reaction of exergonic reaction and endergonic reaction. Which reaction describes the release of energy during ATP hydrolysis? I repeat, question number 4. Energy coupling is simultaneous reaction of exergonic reaction and endergonic reactions. Which reaction describes the release of energy during ATP hydrolysis? Finally, for the last item, give at least one of the cellular processes where ATP is required. Again, for the last item, give at least one of the cellular processes where ATP is required. That completes your learning on this episode. Did you find the quiz easy? That's good to hear. Answers of the quiz will be revealed on the next episode. Please do review your notes and learning activity sheets in General Biology 1, and please deepen your knowledge by reading other biology books. Now, we are done with the 3rd episodes on a series of 10 episodes of the most essential learning competencies in General Biology 1. If you have queries, you can call or text your teacher with the contact numbers provided for you. Thank you for listening. Make sure to tune in here at School on the Air every day. Till next time, my dear students. Again, I'm your science teacher for today, Sir Brian Dumaging Tagaka, reminding everyone to be safe and follow safety protocols. With this, we can succeed in our fight against COVID-19. Have a nice day.
Patuloy ang edukasyon para sa ating henerasyon.
Sa daan ng pagkatuto ay walang may iwan.
Kaya halina sa Radyo Eskwela.